today?
So today is just to go through any questions regarding
And I
the.
think my questions have been answered. I asked a bunch
Last,
of questions
ready?
through.
Okay, you guys ready to keep going here? Yes. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brighton Area Schools Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting. This is meeting number 5 of our review of the proposed truant policies. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll do a quick roll call here. Mr. Stahl, here. Dr. Krebs.
Here.
Mr. Myers, here. All right, we have 3 board members attending this committee meeting, so we do not have a quorum, which, because this is a committee meeting, we aren't taking any action, does not present a problem, so we will proceed forward with the committee. Even though we don't have a quorum, because this was noticed as a public meeting, I will open this up at this time for a call to the public. If there is anyone here who would like to address the board, you have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none, that will close the call to the public and move us into our committee meeting. So, as I understand it, Mr. Scaling, when we left off at the last meeting, we had completed our review of the policies for which there was alternative language and our discussion about which alternatives or proposed modifications we would like to consider. As I understand it now, we are approaching the last phase of this process, and what we have to do now is to, if there's any questions or proposed revisions or clarifications that any board member has for ultimate consideration regarding the policies that, as initially drafted in the truant package, did not have any alternatives that the board were to consider, this would be the opportunity for us to do that. And then also, there were various, through our discussion of the alternatives, the policies that required us to consider alternatives, there were some questions for which we wanted you to solicit feedback from truant. And I understand that you've done that, and so we're going to also discuss that this evening.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
So if we want to start with the ones, feedback from truant.
Sure.
So the first one, I wanted to make sure, policy 2504, which I had printed for you, one of the tasks was to make sure that the call to the public procedures match what our current procedures are. So I printed that and added the red language that would insert there to define what our call to public procedures are. Just wanted to make sure, have the opportunity to review that and make sure that's accurate.
Just a question for me, district of residence means the school district?
That was what my notes indicated, yes. I can add that if you would like that clarified.
It might be clearer to others.
Okay.
Yeah, school district of residence, just add the word school in front of district.
Basically, we want to know if they're Brighton district.
Right, correct.
We understand that they all have a right to speak, but
Right.
I just want to know.
Okay.
I have no issue.
Seems good.
Okay. It was asked, 5201 was asked to be reviewed by Officer Bell, which we did, and she didn't have any issues there with what she had reviewed. So I just wanted to make sure that that was noted for you.
Which one was 5201? The longer one?
No, you don't have that in front of you.
Oh, okay. Oh,
No. If you want to. Yeah, we'll pull it up there. It was just one that spoke. It's about students and
okay.
police involvement. Yeah, I was asked to do that. I was just making sure you were all aware that she has reviewed that and didn't have anything to add.
Okay.
She's gonna, okay. Investigations, arrest.
Okay.
Okay.
Angie, did you need to say any more?
No, I'm good. I was just looking at the papers and it's like I didn't see
Yeah.
how it was tied to that.
5206.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Allen's going to pull up 5206 on the screen. That was 5206 and 5206A were both about student discipline. And we had wanted to add our procedures of having a panel be the process for expulsion hearings. And so if Dr. Allen, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see where we added that. True work with me on that to add where that would be applicable.
Do you know how far down it is?
Yeah, keep it towards the end. Where did you wait? Where did you, which floor did you pull out from?
No, full policy, you think? Is that the one you want?
I think so.
This is my click right here.
All
It said
right,
it's been
sure.
updated since July 26th.
Is it 5206D or just?
No, well, the folder hasn't been updated. Try that one.
This one?
No, this with the language. Let's see if it pops in there.
This one there?
Yep, yep, that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, no, I'll do that one. Okay.
So then you'll start to see it pop up in red.
Yeah, I read it earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you all had a chance to review where we inserted the panel procedures, which would be consistent.
Is that large enough? Is that good?
Yeah.
I can make it larger if needed.
Yeah, and that's consistent with our current
Correct.
policy.
Yep,
Yeah.
just want to make sure you saw that there. And the same for 5206A, which referenced the panel for expulsion hearings. Okay,
Is that also apply to the due process hearings?
that's 52,
The due process, so as opposed to expulsions or suspensions of our existing students, where we have a student who's in district that was expelled.
That's your A,
Okay.
student discipline due process.
Yeah.
This-
Okay, so so that was the,
there's, yes.
gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
so I
the
was
due
understanding the
process,
question.
yeah.
You have the discipline one that speaks to it, then you have the due process one that also addresses it as well.
Okay.
That's,
And these are discipline that are not related to Title IX, right? Any Title IX hearing discipline, any Title IX expulsion would be not tied to that.
No, it would. If there were disciplinary measures that
So
were a
the
result of the
violation,
Title IX.
the violation is investigated under Title IX procedures, but then the discipline would be follow this.
the
If-
due
if
process and
necessary,
everything
yes.
was followed.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Just a question for me. So I've been part of meetings also regarding this where we are considering to bring a child back. Is there anything in the policy about that procedure or? I don't know if there's some type of rules that we need for that, maybe we don't.
I think
I know I've been part of those.
that's what the panel ultimately
Panel will do
decides.
that.
We would follow a similar procedure if there were another student coming to us with disciplinary concerns.
Right.
And we would need to review those prior. I can take a look and see if the panel would be necessary for that or if it would be, a more of a superintendent discretionary
Well,
decision.
Currently, is it a superintendent decision if
No, if it's,
If it comes back.
Not for coming back.
Right, so the scenario you're talking about, Chad, is the due process hearing where, say you have it's an in-district student that went to Catholic Central and they got expelled, and now they want to enroll in Brighton area schools as an in-district. That's where there's a due process hearing that follows that. I think what Ken's talking about is when we expel someone, that student petitions for reinstatement.
Exactly.
Then, and does it come back then for another hearing before that same panel? I can tell you that that's happened when I've been involved in the past where that's what we've done. And they've tried to reconvene the same panel if the same administrators are still employed by the district. And we have that same panel that hears the petition for reinstatement. Sometimes there's an automatic, like if the student meets XYZ conditions, there'll be automatic reinstatement. But depending on the circumstances, it requires the student to petition for reinstatement. And so I guess the question, Ken's not the,
Oh, that's okay, you're doing fine.
is that, does the same process then get followed for a petition for reinstatement?
I understand the question. I'm thinking, yes, I'll make sure that it does. If we need to put it in some place.
I think
I'll
it's
make
a
sure
best
that it does.
practice.
I think so too,
Right
right?
now,
That's great. I'll go back through and see where it talks about reinstatement and work to have the panel be part of that process.
Yeah, that would, and I think that worked well in the past, so.
It's a good way to do it.
Okay. Take the notes here, all right. So 5404, this was about student fees. And the question that was, the scenario that was discussed is, how does this language fit with, having students, have to rent, in particular, instruments or uniforms. So there was a question about the definitions.
Definitions,
and the
this was
definitions
the
covered,
extracurricular,
right?
co-curricular.
So these are the three definitions that we would use. And what I did here in this one is I just started to see what the language wanted to read so that we had the flexibility, if necessary, to have things like instruments, be paid for by students and families, or choir uniforms, or band uniforms, or what have you. So that's what I have started there. So really, I thought, in looking at the definitions and what I understood the question is making sure the language gives us the ability to charge those fees if necessary. Okay? So in that paragraph there, I just added, can you zoom in just a little bit?
Oh, sure.
So I just added that part. The district may require students to furnish specialized equipment and clothing required for participation in curricular, and really all of it. And I think that addressed the concern because there was vagueness on whether that would have counted in the way it was previously written.
Okay.
The one thing in practice for us as administrators, if this is what we're going to do, I think we need to iron out the difference between extracurricular, like which one of our clubs are extracurricular, what are non-curricular? Because I think we blur those lines a little bit.
So things, yeah, so that's a question. I mean, non-curricular is scouting a non-curricular group because it's not tied to the school, because it's saying
Right.
they are permitted to hold meetings and events on school premises. These are not school sponsored and not covered versus a club. I don't even, I'm blanking on the club.
So like a
You know.
special interest club, let's say it was chess club, a
Yeah.
group got together and says, is that an extracurricular?
Is that an
or
extracurricular?
non-curricular?
Right,
Yes.
that's my question, yeah.
Extracurricular.
Because it's a group that's basically assembling on campus, but it's not really,
But then are scouts governed under the non-curricular activities, or are they governed under separate and another kind of thing? Because, or, I'm trying to think, what would be a student group? I mean, a lot of student groups, if a student wants to initiate a group, there's a process that they can go through at the high school level.
I would say
And have a
scouts,
group.
because none of those four are scouts, because you're talking about fees for equipment, so
Right.
like we.
But these are
wouldn't get all those-
non-school sponsored. But, I mean, but they're permitted to hold meetings and events.
So I think the scouts would be more like an outside group, right?
So outside groups are not non-curricular then.
No.
Right. Non-curricular would be a group
So it's,
that's not school sponsored, but legally
But it's
we have the
still the
right to
students.
facilitate because it's student initiated.
but it's still our
Right.
students.
Correct.
Because scouts could draw from other school, kind of other schools. But these are gonna be our students.
Different from a community program that uses our facilities that happens to have.
So
our
what
kids
would
in it.
be, I mean,
How about robotics?
robotics is extracurricular.
Extracurricular.
That's extracurricular.
Right.
So
All
I
the
mean, if
co-curriculars.
a student group wanted a political group, could that be a non-curricular?
Well, that's kind of where I was going at it. Young Republicans, young Democrats, or, those aren't necessarily going to be district sponsored, but they're not, to me, those are non-curricular.
Yes.
They have the right to assemble
Right,
under the parameters, but
Because they're students, basically.
it's still a little, I guess
And
it's,
only because they're students, yes.
right.
right, it couldn't be, political organization setting this up for students kind of thing. This would be students that wanted to do this.
Student
Whereas-
initiated.
Extracurricular activities are not necessarily student initiated. There's student robotics, for example. I mean, it's not like a student came and said, we want a robotics team.
Those last two, I'll be honest with you, I think we need to have some conversation about that. I think in policy, I think it makes sense. These make sense, but I think we have to align our practice a little bit with what the policy language is saying, just so that it's clear.
Right, because it's still not clear to me.
It would be kind of nice to have bullets, like if this,
This
if
is a
this,
non-curricular
if this.
group, these are the extracurricular group.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Co-curricular is easy because that means you're taking the class during
So-
the day. and then it
Okay, so
carries
for
over to after.
co-curricular, I'll go math. Band and choir activity, no, so co-curricular is band and they have marching band.
Band, choir, orchestra, and that's pretty much it. It's
Okay.
where you have class during the day and it carries over after
And
school.
performances.
Yep.
Okay,
Marching band would be
right, okay, so
a
that's,
separate.
See, that simple statement makes it clear, class during the day carries over.
Right.
Done. Those are
That's
easy.
co-curricular is easy.
Curricular means that's your classes during the day. That's
Right.
easy.
Where it gets blurred is between the extra and
Extra.
non.
non.
Yeah.
But so like all of the clubs at the high school that have to go through the process of getting that those would all qualify as extracurricular, right? Even if they're not necessarily, if they may be more athletic related, they're not technically academic, but they're still a club, at the high school or through the high school, and they have to go through the process to get
Everything that's been through that process would be extra.
extracurricular, right? That's
Right.
exactly. So
Right.
it seems to me that, I do think there is, importance in delineating between those two, but my guess is that 95 or more % of those are going to fall into the extracurricular
I agree.
basket.
I agree.
So just see if I guess BMX would be such a program, because they do,
mountain biking.
yeah.
But-
So
When I see the non-curricular are things that the district may not want to directly be a sponsor for.
But have to allow
That
students to do.
Perhaps are political in nature or something that might be harder. for
Something
the
might be
district.
religious in nature. I mean,
Sure.
that the
Yep.
district isn't,
That we support the students' rights to
Ex-
assemble,
Right.
but we don't necessarily directly sponsor whatever that.
so.
Yeah.
This is not solely at the high school. This could also happen, I would say maybe Scranton, possibly Maltby. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think anywhere, but I think.
I think related to the fees, I think this gives us the ability
Yeah.
to, this justifies, we might have to rent the instrument if we want to be in band.
Right, and I know
That was
that,
that was the initial question.
I know that it's a small fee, essentially the rental fee is kind of to cover maintenance on them. So
Yeah.
that's how it's been done in the past.
would it be possible to have like a list of all of our things in the category that they belong? So whenever this question comes up, we pull it out and go, it's one of these.
Until there's something that doesn't fit.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd want that in the policy itself.
no,
I
I'm
think there
talking
might be like an
about just in-
administrative regular, a guideline or.
Internally.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I mean,
right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need anything policy. Yeah, I'm with you.
what that process is and everything, because.
Because it could change. I mean, a group could morph into something else too.
Sure.
Okay, there, put that draft.
I like it.
Okay. Policy 5407. There was some question about, this was a committee to review challenges to curriculum. And the direction was to further define the makeup of that committee. And so what we have had, I don't think, did I put it in there yet?
I don't know.
Keep going. Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's towards the end. Maybe go back. So I wanted to make sure, so we added the superintendent, assistant superintendent of curriculum, 2 principals, 2 teachers. The question is does the Board of Education member want to be on that committee for that review process?
Just as a,
And
what number, what number are we on?
5407.
4 or 7, where's the option 1 come? Okay,
So, yeah, scroll.
third level
down.
superintendent review.
Down to 2?
So this is,
Option 2. So we would select option 2. We selected option 2,
Which is the committee review.
and then the committee was asked to be further defined here.
got it. And is this for something that somebody raised an objection to, or is this for all curriculum? I'm trying to-
No, a challenge.
A challenge, okay,
Correct.
okay.
So I guess the real question is does a Board of Education member want to serve on that committee?
Is there a way to have the option without making it necessary?
I was going to also
Someone would
add
like to
others at
sit
the
in.
discretion of the
I would
superintendent.
do it like it there. I don't think you want to require us.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't anyone's intention there. So we can take that
So if
off.
somebody wants to sit on it.
Well,
It's okay, but it's not necessary. for you
Not if
to
somebody
sit.
wants to sit on it, no. If the superintendent wants to add additional people to it. I don't think anybody can just sit on it
Oh,
who
yeah.
wants to.
Yeah.
I think that's an important distinction.
So the committee will consist of at least the superintendent, assistant superintendent of curriculum, 2 principals, 2 teachers, and then others at the discretion of the superintendent.
That's
I
fine.
think so. I think it like that.
Perfect?
And then the final discretion on that comes from that group.
Yeah, the committee's decision is final.
Correct.
Right, it
Yes.
is final.
There's no further appeal. Right.
Okay?
You good
I
with
like
that?
that. I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I wanted to bring to your attention 5505 was the student attendance discussion. And there was some initial talk about changing from full day to more than half the day in order to be in order to participate in co and extracurricular activities. And in reviewing that and going further and talking with, in particular, Gavin Johnson and John Thompson, they feel pretty strongly that the full day in attendance is probably easier to even manage than the other version because you have different variations. And the message that they have been communicating, especially this year, to coaches and to advisors and things about you have to be in attendance full day and participate unless it's an approved reason, which they say that their families, because of the communication, are very good at doing.
Okay.
So I know the concern was, is that manageable? We didn't want to have a policy out there that's not manageable. And they have said there are some challenges with that, but it wouldn't be any more challenges than any other type of attendance policy. But they feel that that would be one that they want to maintain and will work to enforce it even more strong when they identify areas where it needs to be addressed. So my question would be to, if that's something you would be okay with having that dialogue and that feedback presented to you, or are your preference would still be more than half the day, I believe is what the original language was.
I'm comfortable with that if that's, they're just,
Yeah,
their comments.
I'm comfortable with it too. My concern was that if somebody had like an orthodontist appointment,
Yep.
right, and they missed a couple of hours, so as long as they're, they're fine with that policy, that, they recognize there's exceptions.
They do.
And, I wouldn't anticipate that they wouldn't,
Right.
recognize those exceptions. So that, and we haven't had a problem, obviously, going, in the past, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. 3213, this was the electronic transfer policy. And it was in specific, the word written approval was in question. And in meeting with Mr. Engelder, he had indicated that if you simply remove the word written from that, because they do they have an authorization process, that would satisfy the electronic authorizations in addition to the written authorizations that he does as well.
So it just says approvals will be retained.
Yes.
Is this it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, and then 3, down just a little bit, or, right.
Actually, you just up a
Did
little.
did I go too far?
Under C1,
Yeah, C1.
written approvals.
Yeah,
Is there another one?
there's 2, in writing and then written. So if you just
Okay.
remove the word writing and written, it has the approval process that's currently in place and that it would support any type of approval, whether it's digital, electronic approval or written approval. Okay?
Sounds good.
Perfect. And then the last one that I have is 3408. I think shared with you regarding weapons and some feedback from the Troon attorney about things to consider in selecting those options that we had discussed last time. So I didn't know if we wanted to reconsider the selection of those options.
So the one thing is, by saying the district is a weapon-free zone,
Yes.
we have the right to say that. And then that means that concealed carry would not be allowed
Without
without prior
prior
authorization.
authorization. And in adding those selections, it would be, you're giving general prior authorization supposed to happen at any time for those people that would qualify for it.
So what's the recommendation?
If we want to,
What's the recommendation of the district? What's our current policy? Do we have a policy addressing this?
yeah, we don't have any of those options.
Okay.
Even 4, I mean, 4, I think we have to.
Correct, 4 we do because of our security
For
personnel.
security personnel.
So it'd be 5, I believe it was 5
through
through 8,
I think
or
it's
5 through 7.
7.
5 through 7, which was the recommendation to not adopt because of that, and that provided clarification as to why it depends on what level of control you want to have in that particular situation.
Right, and so that was I appreciate you getting
Yeah.
that clarification, because last time I think we thought that it was something different, so.
I think we thought that was stating
Right.
the laws, which it kind of was 3 or 4 years ago, but now they have closed the loophole for school districts and allowed that to occur only with prior authorization as long as you are saying that this is a weapons-free school zone.
So 4 only is
Or only.
good, is the.
Are we okay with that?
Okay,
Great.
that's it for me on the ones that had some additional feedback or work to attend to. Any questions on other policies that
So
we
are there
have?
any other left that you do not have information for? Because we were a little concerned if you'd have all of your information. Is that are you still waiting on hearing back on any policies?
No.
Okay, so that is all caught up. Thank you.
So that covers basically all of the discussion regarding the policies for which there was the alternative language options. And so we've covered those, we've got the feedback. Appreciate that you getting that, following up with either the administration or Troon. So I think at this point, the only thing we've left is to the extent that we have any questions or proposed revisions regarding those policies that were part of the Troon package that didn't have alternatives built in that we needed to discuss. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I had most of and I brought some of mine up.
Right, yeah, I remember, right, during the course of our review previously.
So
So did you have any
I
others?
do not have any additional ones.
Okay. Do you have any others? The only one I have is in policy 2201. There's 2201A, B, and C. And on the third page of 2201C, subsection 1. Keep scrolling down.
Which one was it?
C1, so go to the
C1.
very last area.
Got it. I missed the C part.
There you go, right there. So in C1, at the end of that first sentence, referencing members, I would like to add to that, just for clarification purposes, I would like to add the language that would say, who individually lack any supervisory or management authority over any district employee or agent. And the D in district should be capitalized. I would like to add that I think it provides further clarification regarding the statement that's made in that sentence.
Not changing the statement, just adding
Just
clarification.
adding that, exactly, and adding that right at the end of that sentence. And this, is okay with that?
Yeah, we can add that in.
That's good.
Okay, that's the only one I had. I was satisfied with, obviously, we talked
Yeah.
about some of the ones you were concerned with.
I think, yeah, we had some that
clarification.
we
Yep.
had some.
And
some
after making another further review of that was the only one that I really felt like I wanted to have some further clarification, so. Are we there then, we think, to get to a point where we can incorporate the final review for adoption? I mean, ultimately, like we discussed, we're gonna have to have a public hearing for the anti-bullying policy. Timing wise, do we want to have, I guess the question is, are we gonna have one more meeting on for future action where we can review the entire package with the language, alternatives that we've selected for any further discussion before we then set it for a public hearing? Or do you want to just set it for a public hearing?
Well, okay, so, but we have a meeting scheduled for Thursday. We have a bond question that is coming forward.
Yeah,
The
I
Thursday
would
meeting.
focus on the field house. Yep.
So we don't need then to bring any policy questions in, it sounds like. So
I don't-
is that our
I don't
take?
see any,
Okay, so then that's done. Okay. So then the question is, we don't need, what's the next steps?
Right, that's basically the question.
Right.
Do we have a,
so hypothetically, so you have a meeting on October 10th. That would be wonderful to be able to have the board vote to end this on the 10th and perhaps have the hearing,
At the same time.
yeah, like an hour before it or.
But would that be then for action? Would be moving it straight into for action?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If, let's say hypothetically it's for action, then do you want to have another, opportunity like for future action? Do you want to put it on like after we talk about the field house?
I will not be here on the 10th. I will be, so I will have, went through all my reviews. I don't know that I don't necessarily need to be here for it, but I just, again, just to keep it
I
on.
was just thinking like at a regular, your
Regular meetings.
scheduled meeting, that might be the best spot to, because it's a big one.
Once we vote on it, how, is it immediately replacing then? So like
Yes.
that night, and I mean, I know a lot of it's aligned to what we're doing, so it's not like anything's gonna change right necessarily.
I mean, the motion could be, you could add an effective date if you needed to.
Yeah,
Take some time, but
I mean, so I don't know, do you need any kind of transition time to make this happen? Once we,
it depends. I can get it done so that we could be ready to go on the 11th if we need to. With respect to having the site, all that, as far as I know.
because it needs to be public again.
Correct. Right, we can always temporarily have these posted as PDFs on our website. It's just not as user-friendly to do searching and stuff until it transitions, or it could be effective at a certain date, and then we all know that that's when the transition will be.
My suggestion would be to plan on making it effective like 7 days after the board adopts it. That way, if something comes up at the meeting and there's some tweaks to language, it gives you a few days to, if it's approved with some additional minor modifications in the language, you get it all buttoned up and then there's a clean switch. The old Neolas are rescinded and the new Troons are adopted. I mean, it's not, we've spent months,
Trying to align them.
right, having a 7-day,
Right.
lead time for the approval and when it gets, goes into effect, I don't think is a big deal.
No,
Yeah.
we could do that.
Could we possibly do this? Could we have, on Thursday, obviously we're going to talk about the field house. Could we have it on for future action, with the full package this Thursday? And then the hearing could be, sometime before the board votes on October 10th.
What exactly is the hearing? Is it, the hearing is for the anti-bullying? The hearing is only for anti-bullying?
That policy alone, correct.
But that can be done as part of the same
Yes.
meeting for the adoption. We just have to have a motion to open it up for a public hearing, kind of like what Mike does
Right,
with
for the finance.
Right,
Right.
the budget. So, that part of it's not, I don't think it's a big deal,
No, but
Is Thursday enough? I guess is what I'm asking.
I mean, we've
You've
Had
had,
lots of
this is our
opportunity.
the fifth meeting
Right.
that's been,
focused on this.
recorded and, the whole board's been invited to every one of these.
I'm fine with, I mean, we've gone through these with a fine tooth comb. I mean, I personally would be fine with, I don't think you need to call it for future action. We can just, it can be part of, it's still part of our committee review of, we're going to continue our discussion and get it ready for, the whole idea for future action on a regular agenda is that it gives the board a preview of something that's going to be coming for future action. I don't know that we need to formally call it for future action.
The only thing is, I would say that that's going to kind of, I hate to have examples of where we're not following the procedure of having something for future action. It feels like if we have it for future action on Thursday, then we'll have kept this policy or kept the procedure. I just want to keep our procedure.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just don't know, okay. I mean-
I don't know. I mean, I feel like even though we just say that it's happening, just calling it for future action means that we're still following this procedure and we can't not follow the procedure. For
That's
other
fine.
instances- Other
I
instances.
think anything to make sure it doesn't get derailed, because frankly, you've spent hours
Oh, yeah.
and hours and hours here, in addition to doing homework and going through it, asking questions. And this has been going on for a month. It's been super transparent. And, if it was Thursday, that would be the 6th time that we would have had a public here,
Yeah.
for future action. So
if we are going to look at Thursday and having that to be for future, will you be able to email us the whole packet before Thursday, Chad, with the language options that we've selected?
I will.
Okay.
Maybe with options and support from Dr. Allen. No, I've been piecing it together as we've
Okay.
gone. I've got a bit of work to do, but I should be able to have it so that there's one place where this is the entire policy that we're adapting.
These are the ones we have.
I'll probably add a folder to the Google Drive that I've shared with all of the board members that say final policy package.
And
for
what
adoption.
I would say as well is, if there's a way to do it, I think, so to make it clean, I think it would be good to have, the whole policy package that we're going to consider, and maybe have, if there's a way to, like, we had a link where we had the alternatives we were considering, to provide that, to say, here's the proposed package that incorporates all of the discussion that we've had in reviewing these. In the event that anyone wants to still be able to refer back to the options that we did, here's the link that was originally created with the alternatives. So that way somebody, other than have those alternatives still show up in and create, confusion and, make it more difficult to read.
My vision was that I would pull it all together, and the ones that had optional language, I would highlight the choice in red.
Okay, that's perfect.
Or, if you want me just to only include that optional language in red, that's fine too. But just so there's a final review of, these were the two options, red's the ones we selected in this policy. Any others that didn't have red or anything like that were ones that didn't have optional language.
I think that's,
But I want to only see a clean copy.
right, that's my point.
That's-
Okay,
that's
that's what,
kind of what I was thinking, the same thing. It's like you're doing a contract, there's the strike-through version of it. You've already had the strike-through, it's already here.
Right.
You've already been striking through it. You want the final, clean look at all the
I mean,
policies.
I don't have a problem.
That's your package.
yeah, that's fine. If that's, it's no preference to me.
Right.
I just didn't know if there was still a need to say, oh yeah, we did select this option. If not, then I'll remove the option.
And
But-
that was my point of dragging a link to say, here's the clean package of what we've reviewed, what the input we've provided, is being proposed for adoption.
Okay.
Which incorporates the alternatives that we collectively have recommended that we would like to see adopted as part of any individual policy. But then still have a link available so that if somebody wants to refer back to see what the other alternatives were, they can do that, but it's not muddying up
Yeah. I like that.
So you don't need the parts that were optional, you don't need those indicated in any other by bold or red or anything like that, just for reference.
Just clean.
Clean,
Clean copy, got it,
this is what's going through. And then,
no problem.
is it satisfactory? Because I like what you're saying, being able to reference back. But in that Google Drive, Chad has all of the stuff that was selected. It's already here. Is that enough, to go back to?
Yeah, I would leave all that in there.
Yeah.
Inside
So-
that folder would be
So
this
it's in your
final
folder.
copy that you would, and if you
All-
want to
all-
go back, you
all
just
the
go
board
back to
has
the other.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
So then it doesn't have to read, because it'd be the same link.
right. But but then for purpose, and the reason, but then I say, that's for the meeting on Thursday, but then when we get to, October 10th or whatever it is, I mean, how are you gonna, normally the packet has all of what we're considering.
Right.
That's gonna be voluminous if you're going to include all of the, I don't know how thick it would be. It'll be on electronically, but for purposes of the packet, you're not gonna wanna include all those other alternatives that were in that, that Google Drive. You're gonna wanna just have the clean copy of.
Accessible to the public.
You'd have to put a link.
Right, like I wonder if what you were gonna do 7 days after, I wonder if that can be like prepared. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
If
what we
it's gonna
could
be-
do.
It's gonna be ready on October 17th, officially launched.
But I think when you get
That's
to the
the-
approval stage, and certainly for the public hearing, you're gonna have to, the public as part of the package, they're gonna have to be able to see, if they wanna look at the policies that we're going to be considered for adoption, they're gonna have to have some means of saying, oh, what is 2303? Or anti-bullying, policy that's going to be the subject of the special.
So could
The
we,
paper copy.
can we put a-
Well, I don't know if they need a paper, I think for the public, it
A
can.
link.
Could be a link
I get
in
where you're going, Roger. I
the
like,
agenda, and that link is just solely one huge, yes.
One huge
Yeah.
I can work with Nick and take all of those things, put it in one PDF, and temporarily, that's,
Right,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
yeah, that's why I
I
think,
like, I
because
like.
that way, from transparency purposes, that.
And
the
you
public
want
needs to be able
one
to
that's
see.
like the clean copy and then also have one with the strike through. Like you would have two, is what you were saying.
Probably, for the public's benefit, you
Yeah.
might want to have that, for that, at that point.
Yeah.
Or is that gonna be? I don't know,
Or just have the clean with the link.
I think, I would leave you all with the access to both versions as you're reviewing it prior to the 10th. But for the public, it would just be what we're.
yeah, well, this is what,
Just
this is what we
one,
do,
one
right?
thing,
This is what's
this is
being
the work
voted on.
that's been.
Right.
Right.
Because otherwise it becomes too confusing and
Yeah,
cumbersome
too
to have all
much.
the, right, I agree.
Yes.
And that is the action item, is to approve this whole package.
Exactly.
So
Right.
public
So
needs to
public
see
can
that.
see
This
it,
document.
they can see every single policy with every, right. And
Because
then,
it doesn't matter that you chose this language
Right.
because you're voting on the whole. thing.
Exactly.
Got
Okay.
Okay.
By Thursday, and then it will be for action on the October 10th?
it. October 10th.
October 10th meeting for action, okay.
And then the hearing, are you gonna do the hearing during the meeting?
Yeah, the hearing would be just like Mike does, just
So
a,
we would do it during
just a agenda item.
So for clarification, then are we gonna have an agenda that's gonna state that this will be on our meeting on Thursday?
On Thursday, we have to. Yep. I don't want anything to derail, because I'd like to move forward from policy if possible. Got a couple other things to talk
I'm good
about.
with that, I just wanna make sure we
Right.
follow procedure.
all right, anything further? We good? All right. Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending and participating. This meeting is adjourned.
Chair, I want to ask you something.
Yes, boy.
Wait a second.